Alright, so you're thinking of making a propane tank stove, or you want to make a propane tank stove. You want to make it for cheap, you want to make it really well. Maybe you don't know how to weld, maybe you do. You're on the right channel. I'm going to go through this whole thing. I've made over 50 of these, and I've learned a lot of do's and don'ts, and I'm going to show you the do's rather than go into all the don'ts. I'm not going to do a live video of me making this. It'd take way too long. I'm not going to film a 35-40 minute video. First place you always want to start is procuring the propane tank. You can get these at your local scrap yard for about $5 a unit. A few years ago they changed the valve codes on these, and a lot of people got stuck with old tanks. They had to turn in basically for scrap because they couldn't recycle them any other way. They couldn't exchange them for new tanks because they were out of code. So that's a good way of getting them. Plus you can find tanks, ask your neighbors, what have you. Next step is you want to devalve it and degas it in a safe way. You're going to have to do that at your own risk. There's many videos on YouTube of how to do it. I've made videos on how to do it. I'm not going to go into all that right now because I'm going into the design of this stove instead. But absolutely do it safely, do it at your own risk. There's correct ways of doing it and incorrect ways of doing it. Okay, but for the purpose of this video, let's go into the stove. And this was a 20-gallon tank, all recycled parts, no welds, all bolted. The only tools you need are a high-speed drill and an angle grinder. Everything on here is a recycled part. I'll show you how I did everything. This particular stove uses a 6-inch flue. You can use, for a 20-pound tank, I wouldn't use any smaller than a 3-inch flue, just because you're going to mess up your draw, which is your underfire and overfire. And by that I mean entry gases and exit gases. And you don't want to screw that up, or it's going to smoke or burn incorrectly. You're just going to have a lot of issues. So always remember that. And whenever you put a damper on a stove, or you need to use a damper on a flue pipe, always make sure it's at least 2 feet above the unit, or you're going to mess up your draw too, which is your flue gases or off gases produced by combustion. Okay, so is this one tank? Well, no, not really. Actually, this is 2 tanks. And what I mean is, and I've said this in many videos, is you don't want to just cut this door because it's going to leak. You always want to cut this door off another tank, not just because it matches the bevel, but because so it'll be oversized over the entry hole. And I'm going to open this up and show you what I mean. And you can see how absolutely tight this is, how I've done this. And there's a trick to doing that, and I'm going to show you. But you can see right there, see how much it's just about 1/2 inch all around bigger. Every propane tank has a main seam weld, because it's actually 2 shells that they've welded together right here. And if you make your cut right here, you're going to have to cut through that, and see how I've ground this all off. And that is so when you close the door, it'll close flush and absolutely tight. So you ground it off there, ground it off there. Even my door latches I've cut from plate steel. And it's a simple latch design. It's just like a guillotine design. I got a spring on here for heat so I don't burn my fingers, and just latches just like that. And the other latch is just bent plate steel like that to hold it. And when you size it up, you can see whether it's loose or tight, and bend this accordingly in a vise to make it snug tight. With very little experimentation, you're going to learn how to make it so it fits absolutely tight. My door hinge is just an old hinge off a house door. And that's another trick, is when you put the hinge on this side, on the side of the tank, you're gonna have to offset it a little bit. So you're gonna use 2 to 3 washers on each bolt, so it's offset out. So again, the door snugs closely. My plate is old steel grate for my underfire grill. That way you get good flue gas flowing underneath your wood pile, or coal, or whatever it is you choose to burn. This is my underfire control. This is actually the recycle valve off the top of the tank. It's just mounted with a bolt and large washer. So that's close, open, close, open. So when I have a fire raging in here, it's going to be open to feed it fuel. If I want to snuff it out, say I have to leave all of a sudden, I'll just close that and deprive it of air, and that's going to put the fire out. And you never have to have it open like that unless you open the door to put wood in. Then you won't get a face full of wood smoke. And you see how I put this door on the bottom, not on the top or the middle. A lot of people make this mistake. This is another thing that'll prevent you from getting smoke in the room when you put wood inside the stove, because it has all this room up here for the smoke to chamber without coming back in your face. Very important. I have a small cook plate right here that I can put a mess kit cup on and heat up some coffee if I want. If I wanted to use this in ice shack or camp or what have you, a tent even. My legs are black pipe, and I'm going to take and flip this and show you exactly how I did that, because I know I had some questions in one of my videos where people couldn't see good enough or didn't understand well enough. My flange for my stovepipe is just a 6-inch flange. That's all it is. You can buy these at the hardware store for wood stoves, what have you. It's just bolted right into the top of the tank. And I've made a large circular cut with my angle grinder. A good thing to do is to make your mark on there with the Sharpie and just etch it. Just go along and just etch your cut. Etch it, etch it, etch it. And then once you get it etched, the cutoff wheel isn't going to skip anymore. You can just keep going in circle, 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 and you'll go right through. Make a perfect cut. With very little practice, you're going to get really good at this. I'm going to turn this unit so you can see this under fire. So here's my under fire, better spec here. So I got another flange off an old car exhaust system found at the scrapyard, and you can see this is just the bolt and control valve off the tank. There's closed, like so. It's that simple. There's half open, there's full open. That's all you gotta do. It's that simple, and it's real snug. It works great. Now I'm gonna take my stovepipe off, and I'm gonna show you the guts here and the underneath. And this particular stove has a heat exchanger in it. And what's a heat exchanger? Well, it is what it says. It exchanges heat. What it does on this particular unit is this is a single pass heat exchanger. So it's a single bypass for the flue gas to exit. But what it does is it slows the flue gas a little bit because, and I'm going to show this in a second, because it makes it go. It's just like this in here. And it makes, instead of going straight out, it makes it hit here and then go around. So it slows the exit of flue gas, and it's going to heat up this plate, making the stove a lot more efficient. I'm going to generate a lot more heat and retain a lot more heat for what I'm burning. And I'm going to show you exactly how that works right now. So I have another recycle part that's mounted right here through the side of the tank. And it's an old base off something, I can't remember, but you see how I did that. So I didn't restrict it, I just pushed it, got that plate mounted right there inside the tank, so it's just makes that bypass, so it's got to go around and makes it super a lot more efficient. Otherwise all your heat's just going to go right up the flue or the pipe. Now let me show you these legs, and here's a good close-up on this heater plate. So I've just got a bent piece of steel, 3 bolts mounted in the tank. I made it level like so, so nothing's tippy, and I can put whatever I want to on there to heat it up. Just a small little cook surface. Now let's give you a look at these legs. So right there, that's a good way to look right there. And so I've left the original stand ring on it, and because I didn't need to remove that. And here